Hello, hello, hello. Right, I'm just going to check the sound first of all. So you should hear a little echo. Right, that's working. Brilliant. Okay, right. How are we doing, everyone? Let's have a little a look through the comments. I'm doing it slightly different today. I'm using a different computer because I was trying out a stream earlier on my own channel and my old M1 MacBook was getting a bit hot and it stopped working halfway through. So that wasn't brilliant. And what I've done now is I've moved it to the M2 MacBook that I bought a few weeks ago. I don't know if anyone remembers the story, but I ended up buying it from a guy in a Sainsbury's car park and late at night and he'd forgotten the password and everything was really dodgy. Anyway, the computer's quite good and so far it's running nice and cool, so everything should be good. Right, so what else have we got here? Right, yeah, there's RN is strapped on. Okay, nice one. I said. Okay, come on, Trump. Is Trump up to something today? I don't know. He's always doing something in it. RN saying, you two, Steve, put your long in and send it to 200k. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Stella Jennings, who I believe is Jeff. I apologize, by the way. I didn't say thank you yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before, for the little bits and bobs that you sent over via Dave from the States. And that very, very much appreciated. Very nice. Thank you very, very much. That's awesome. Right. So I have good sound today. That makes a change. Hopefully it will stay that way. Alex Bell, I think, I'm not sure if I've seen you before, but hello, Alex. That's brilliant. Good afternoon yourself. Sounds good, fantastic. And BWT International, that's a new one as well. Bro, we are not getting whatever you are saying. Update your mic or use subtitles. Let me just have a little listen. Whatever you are saying, update your mic or use... It sounds all right to me. Oh, okay. Now, good. I don't know what that was. I will say that in my area at the moment, Virgin Media, who I use for an internet, who I use for the internet, do seem to have problems. If you run the diagnostics, it says there is no problem, but there definitely is. And I've got an engineer coming this afternoon to look at it. So hopefully we can find out what the problem is. I mean, it should be like, 200 meg fiber should work fine, but I don't know why it is a little bit strange. RN saying that's just the accent. Okay. All right. I've got a bit of a mixture of accents, I suppose. I'm from the Midlands, but I've lived down the south of England for quite a while, and I did live in France for 20 years as well. So there's all that. Gonksy, afternoon, he says. Afternoon yourself. I hope you've been for a naked swim this morning. Right. Jeff says he's trolling. Okay. Wisdovolt, you're there. Right. Right. We do have a special guest today. It is the one and only Wisdovolt, and I'm actually going to add you to the stage and see if I can monitor what I'm talking about.
Hello, can you hear me? Am I coming through?
You are coming through now. I just need to make sure that hang on. Right. Let me right. Let me just check everything's okay. So we are both okay. How are you doing? Wisdovolt, this is.
I'm doing very well. I'm in what appears to be a very, very juicy long on orange juice, and it is pumping. I'd say somewhat uncontrollably. It's got to. I'm starting to scale out of it now, but it is just printed a. What are we up? We're about 8.5% up today. Which I'd say is quite a good day. I've been bouncing around stream to stream, but I'm doing all right.
I know. I just caught your the end of your one with when you were talking to Spud. What I didn't realise, and I absolutely apologise for this, is that this morning I did a stream on my own channel, and I thought you were going to be on Crypto Saving Expert talking to Spud. I didn't realise you were on your own channel talking to Spud. So I only caught the end of it. I suppose we should shield your channel, shouldn't we? I can do that actually. But do you want to get your orange juice chart up and talk about it, or should we talk about?
Sure, I can share my screen. Let me just get a different chart because I don't really want to be showing my position. I don't want people to. Not that I'm big enough for people to take me out, but.
Well, if you're saying it's juicy, then
can we see this? Is this coming through?
I'm going to add it to the stage.
So I can tell you what. I will clean the chart up, and I can give a walkthrough as to why I took the position.
Hang on, I've still got something. I've got to remove myself. There you go. Right, there you are.
Here we are. Right.
Oh, you're very long and thin. Let me just let's move it like that. That's all
There
right.
we are. Sorry, I've got a stupidly big, absurdly big monitor. That
Actually, before you go any further, tell me about your monitor. Give me some dimensions, because I want to get one.
So it's 38 inches curved,
Right.
which is a bit excessive, I must say. It's I mean, it's good for trading view. The only thing is the dimensions are a bit nuts. But I don't like running two charts at the same time.
Okay.
So I never like sort of doing the sort of where you split them. And I've completely forgotten how you do that. It's up here somewhere.
It's up there somewhere in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I look at it, but yeah, I tend to just go like this, which is quite nice because you can sort of zoom out and get quite a really big picture. I'm always an advocate for big monitors, but that's probably because I've got fairly useless eyes.
Okay. Is that what we're seeing there? Is that across the whole 38 inches, or is that just oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you see, what I'm thinking, what I want is like I want like a really big monitor. So, for example, when I'm doing live streams, I could have the window that everyone's seeing, and then I can look at other stuff and then decide if I want to show that. So I'm not flicking between tabs, because I have this problem at the moment where I keep forgetting on StreamYard to show the actual tab that I'm talking about. So I get a bit confused. So that's the main reason I want a big monitor. But I hadn't really thought about it for anything other than streaming, really, because I'm so used to just doing everything on a 13-inch MacBook, to be honest. But I like seeing a big chart like that. So that's brilliant. So that's orange juice.
I just find it so much easier. I mean, for me, it's always been I've worked mostly. I don't tend to like working off laptops anyway. I've always sort of been more drawn to sort of having sort of that bigger tower PC. But yeah, I guess so. We'll go back to sort of this position then. So I guess I'll start with sort of how, in terms of sort of how I've been taught to trade by our mutual friend, Mr. Block Pro, and sort of using his back test levels. So this for orange juice is I can walk through actually. I think this might be quite interesting for people who haven't sort of gone through sort of the Block Pro experience. Is sort of finding the levels.
I must admit I haven't even booked a call with him yet, and I really want to, but I want to make sure I'm not wasting his time. So I want to have like a specific thing in mind. And one thing I did say to him a little while ago is what I really want to learn is how to, if somebody shows me a chart and says, look at some random shit coin, and I've never seen it before, I want to be able to look at the chart and then sort of like say something like, instantly with no knowledge of the chart, So I thought that might be quite useful. But then I kept thinking, actually, I probably need to go back to basics a little bit, because I think what you're probably about to show me now is what I need to know. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think so. So the two main techniques that was certainly the back test, and so the back test and the level system. And I think if anyone's wanted to get into trading, absolutely book a call with Block Pro. He is a masterful trader. But essentially, it worked on moving down the time frames. So you start on the monthly, and what you're looking for here is you're looking for where you have candles that the bottoms close at the same point. So looking here, we can see a lot down here, but I mean, sort of as we move up, where do we see stuff start to close together? I think that probably is a key level. You encapsulate some there. So if you put a line there, there's another one there that we go up, and so forth. And I think as we go, usually it's best on this to look on the left side of your chart and find sort of that older historical levels, so we can see probably
just for anyone looking on a small screen. What time frame are you on there?
So this is on the monthly.
Okay,
I tend to trade more on the high time frames and the lower time frames.
Right.
more personal preference than anything else. But I just found for me, I've always been more of sort of that swing element and less of a day trader.
Nice.
It's never really been so. I guess so. Rudimentarily, I've just drawn out some levels there.
Okay.
Moving down to the weekly to refine. So if we reset the chart view, we can look to really refine these. So I think this one we can probably move down. We capture some there. This one I would say. This one I'd say maybe move up, and we can encapsulate that area there. And this one, I think probably we're looking sort of around there. So as you can see from it taking shape on the weekly, we can see where it has really, really respected the levels. So I think if we zoom in, because I know it's small, we see this level that we planned out here, which encapsulates these two weekly closes.
Yeah.
It's also touched by a wick on there, and it encompasses that one. And we can see just how pivotal that level comes in down here, in the fact it provided a bounce spot there. We went back for it, but closed above on that candle, came down to test it there, pushed through, but didn't reach this level here. And then we can see this candle here is where it really found support and pushed up through the levels.
Right.
So from a level system perspective, if you were playing this, you could see that this level here was potentially a bounce. And I think if you had entries set here, probably not on high leverage because you'd have been taken out in these wicks here. But from a sort of general entry perspective, if you were on sort of a, I don't know, something small like a 10 or a 15x leverage, you'd have probably had enough breathing room around there to survive those. And naturally, if you were playing the level system, I think the next one in line you'd be looking at is this 321 level. Looking at it the way that I looked at it from a backtest perspective, it's all about finding areas where the impulse starts. And so you can see here you have this period of accumulation here. And this point here is where you see it really kick on. So you would then look to set a back test there. So looking back towards that test, you'd look at where the volume is. So I would I'll go through it properly actually. So I'll get an FRVP to establish where the volume lies in that bit. So yeah, so bang on this area. So you can see this area here, there's an incredible amount of volume. So you're likely to get a reaction there. If you're putting it from a backtest, you're looking at getting a positive reaction off this. And as you can see, if you had this level marked out, that would have been pretty much a dollar perfect backtest on that candle there. If we zoom in, yeah, you'd have got that candle bang on. And you'd have got the entry there. Moving up on the volume side again, if you're looking at another potential back test, now that one's been taken, you'd probably be drawn to this area here. So we can see there's a decent amount of volume here. So if we get the horizontal ray and we put it on, we've got it on that one. If we put it on that there, where we can see that volume node. Again, whilst that one was taken there, we can see this one's come back. This one's come back. It's fallen through it. It's fallen through it and back towards there. But ultimately, between these two areas, there was a worrying bit in terms of this lack of volume here, of this fair value gap. But with that level there and that level there, it would be wise to expect some sort of reaction back there. Okay. Was my overriding thesis towards this. I think taking that back off and moving in. So if we take away that, clean up this chart a little bit. If we go back to the nearer term, once we had this really, really aggressive sell-off on orange juice after President Trump came in, I mean, this is a pretty serious retracement. So you're looking at from peak to trough, you're looking at about a 63% retracement on orange juice.
Wow, I had no idea it was that severe. Actually.
Yeah, that's why I had my eye on it. It was just brutal. It was a brutal sell-off.
Why
Sell-off.
why would that happen?
So a few things. So in commodities, you tend to get other factors in commodities that play a role. So I think orange juice is very seasonal. So it depends on how well the harvest is in certain regions. So obviously, a lot of it comes from Seville. Is where you get a lot of orange juice. But you can see from here, from a seasonal perspective, I don't know if people use this little indicator here in TradingView. I find it quite helpful. It shows sort of a seasonal comparison of where price is. So as you can see, orange juice seasonally has massively underperformed where it has been in recent years.
Right.
Now this might be due to, I mean, there's probably a few different explanations for that. I'd say weather probably plays a role in that. And sort of that overabundance, but yeah. So going back, yeah,
I must admit, Wiz, I didn't even know that existed on TradingView. How do you enable that? Is it in the settings?
It should be. Mine's always been there. So I guess if you on yours, in this bottom corner where you have the news bit. If you click the three dots, you have all of these. So you've got notes, pricing models, and seasonals, and you can add in the bid ask and the ranges.
Do you know what it is? It's my little monitor. I had to scroll down to see it. Right. This is. I think I've got to go shopping this weekend, haven't I? I think
it's the benefit of having it.
Bloody hell! I just literally just went down and scrolled down a bit, and there it was.
Yeah, it's pretty useful because you've got this news feature as well that I quite like. So you click on this, and you've got various different bits of news that you can read into. Now, there's not a whole lot of news in orange juice, given the last thing was March 21st, and not many people share ideas or minds. So there's not a whole lot of orange juice community in there. But I think yeah, going back to it, we have that really aggressive sell-off. So down here at this point, once you're retesting here, it's getting to the point down here where you're thinking it's got to find a bounce somewhere, considering that has just been the perfect rise up. Like that is a S&P 500 type of move up, and then that is a crypto type of dump. So it's this area in general was where I was really looking for a reaction, trying to find where I thought would enter. And I think using that level system and finding this level in particular, where we can see it whilst it's had that. And if we go on to the lower time frames, we can see this 225 level here. It's broken it, and it's come down and flirted briefly with this level. But ultimately, this has been sort of quite a strong level. I think if you looked at it from a zonal perspective, you can see it's come down. It's flirted with it there. It's broken it there. It's rallied up. It's bounced off this upper back test here. Come back down. It's flirted with the level again. Come up. Passed back through. It's flirted and held. Dipped below. I would say that's probably manipulation there. Bounce up, find a closure on there, and then boom, it's straight off. Is how I'd look at it. And I think now you're getting into a really interesting bit. If I was looking at it, you can see this area here with the amount of closes. This area is probably where you would find quite a lot of resistance and sort of some natural sell pressure.
Okay. So the question on my lips is where was your entry?
So my entry was down here. So my entry on it was around like 215. So it dipped slightly below, but I was targeting this. I tend to, and I think it'll be an interesting one if it's other people's, rather than specific entries. So I like to layer. So I will have, rather than having a single entry point, I like to set if there's sort of like 4 or 5 points I find interesting, I'll set those, and then it's almost sort of an average. And if I get filled on the top one and it bounces off, it's all well and good. I've got an entry, maybe not my preferred entry, but I've got an entry nonetheless. Where it gets scary is when you get down to the 5th layer entry, and you're trying to decide. But you can set. And what I do sometimes, if it's a higher leverage position, is I'll set stop losses on each of the entries. So it's almost a case of if that first entry hits and we keep going down, I might take a 10% loss on that. But I know by taking a 10% loss on that, I'm getting filled on one lower down.
Yeah, that's something I've heard Block Pro say is, if you're doing that multiple entry thing, then don't necessarily think that you have to average in. If your first entry was clearly wrong, then take the loss and get a lower one, and that way you'll just get a better entry that way. I suppose at this point, Mr. Delta's question, he's asking what size leverage. I was going to ask you first of all, what platform are you trading orange juice on?
So I trade it on Pepperstone. I trade it on Pepperstone. Typically, that's where I like to do my commodities. But I think Pepperstone, you have to have quite large orders. I'd say if someone's getting into commodity trading and they want to do it at that sort of slightly lower leverage, where they can be a bit more approximate with entries, I would say eToro or something like that is quite good. I think the leverage on eToro for orange juice, I think, is a 15x. So it gives you that breathing room of space. The Pepperstones, etc., is 100x. So you have to be. That's where the sort of the stop losses, etc., and that precise entry comes in a bit more important. But you can set more zonal entries on something like eToro.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is I tend to just really trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the reason I do that is I know the kind of percentage that they move, during the day or during the week, and I'm comfortable with whatever leverage I use. With things like orange juice, I wouldn't have a clue really, but I suppose I'd just look at the chart, look back in time, and work out what it could do. Because in the past, I've got myself liquidated trading DOT, and I thought like that'll be fine on 4x leverage, and all of a sudden it halves in value, and that's me taken out. It's just because I didn't know the asset, whereas Bitcoin. But have you kind of like gradually sort of got into more traditional stuff, or has it been something that you've always done?
It was where I came from. So I sort of came from a different background in terms of I was good at stock picking, and sort of, I guess, sort of from the background I came into, I was always very good about understanding businesses and economics together, and sort of like the role that they play in business. So I was always, as I was saying to Spud on the stream earlier, I was always a thematic investor, and I looked at sort of where we had geopolitical and sort of the business themes coming. And I think that's sort of played into a lot of the stuff that I've had success of recently has been typically the same theme. Anyone who's sort of been following anything that I've been tweeting about, dropping into the Discord, they all tend to be sort of grouped by themes. I look more at sort of which themes I think will do well rather than stocks, and then I'll pick the stocks that I like out of the themes. Commodities, I don't know. I've always got into commodities. So I used to trade to middling success. I used to trade a lot of natural gas, which anyone who's trading crypto, natural gas is probably where you'd get quite a nice fix given the size of the candles. I mean, the daily candles on these are, you would argue, quite significant. I mean, oil has just been nuts as well. But this was a slightly different way of trading. So this was less price action driven, and you're taking swing positions based on factors like seasonality, but also it's very data driven. So you'll get release numbers of of you'll get release numbers of like what storage looks like, and I tended to use quite a lot of that. I was a bit nerdy, I think, like everyone is in this space. And when I was doing the oil and the natural gas, there's a fantastic site called Tanker Trackers, which essentially tracks all of the global oil and gas flows that are at
Can you just
sea.
say that again?
Tanker Trackers.
Oh, tanker.
Tanker Trackers.
How'd you spell that?
Tanker.
Oh, tanker.
Tanker
Oh.
with a T. Tanker with a T.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they showed a lot of the flows, and I think I always found that quite interesting. And from a geopolitical perspective, you obviously get the politics that plays into it, but gas is a bit more complex in the fact that with it being so hard to transport, the contracts vary. Like the prices vary massively depending on where it is. So you have to be a little bit careful about like what exactly you're trading. So if I was to say, like, if I started to watch this, I'd show you sort of all the different natural gas futures that you'd have, and sort of the different. So we've got them ones. We've got Henry Hub. We'll have some UK deliveries. We'll have the Dutch deliveries. We've got the Italian deliveries. We'll go for those, and you can see here just like the difference in them.
Mm-hmm.
So from a commodity perspective, a 1% move is a very big move. It's a very big move, and you can see from a sort of generalized one here, we go down, and this one, I've completely forgotten which ones these are now. Not a clue. But we can see like the difference in how they move. So this, and that's barely traded. But yeah, I think that's something to always be concerned about. But I don't know. I always like commodities. I think they're that sort of tangible element. And sometimes if you're in a position, you get a crazy one like copper. I don't know if anyone was following copper, but this bit here is where President Trump decided to put tariffs on copper. And we can see on the back of that, we had an 18% candle on copper, which copper typically, I say that actually as I zoom out, it has these massive swings. So you have these areas of consolidation, but ultimately it's a bit like we have with M2, where there's always that sort of continually dwindling supply and the inflation. So from a general perspective, it is up. The best one, I think, if we're going into sort of ones that are, I wouldn't say easy to trade, but ones that I think are more easy to predict, is so live cattle futures. If we look at like
what is that exactly?
This is live cattle. So this is the market for live cows, essentially.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're going through the weird tickers in my watch list, but we can see.
I was just thinking with all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is all probably very prone to natural disasters and stuff like that. Say like you get a plague of locusts or some sort of weird sort of like bugs sort of go crazy or something like that, or like extreme weather like hurricanes or something. That's all going to affect things like orange juice, isn't it?
There's people that trade off weather. There's people I know. I've got a friend who trades off weather. So he trades. What does he trade? He trades wheat. He trades corn.
Right.
He also trades orange juice. But a really big weather dependent one is natural gas. So natural gas is heavily one of the big drivers of it. Is really that. Is really that weather element. You can see it.
Why? Why gas?
So ultimately, it's heating. So from a heating perspective and an energy perspective. So if you were to zoom out here, so you can see, where does natural gas tend to spike? It spikes in the summer, typically when people have air conditioning units,
right,
it'll have that sort of cool off as we get into the shoulder months, and then it begins to really build when you get towards the back end of the year.
right. Okay.
So that's very weather dependent. Obviously, this has been slightly distorted by the fact you've had wars and conflicts and all of that not so good stuff. But the seasonals play into it. I mean, if anyone uses TradingView extensively, this is actually quite a good indicator if you're trying to look for various patterns. I tend when I'm doing natural gas because of the volatility when I trade it, I tend to use sort of lower leverage stuff to build positions ahead of certain seasons. So September, so that's sort of back end of August, September, when you get news come through that supplies are X amount and they're not full but they're not low, and you tend to get a real cool off in price, is when I start building up a position. I do that inside of an ISA as well, which is quite good because that means it's tax free. But on my 212, you have there are some leverage instruments on things like natural gas, so you can start to slowly build a position.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get in, it can be quite good. I've been quite fortunate in the fact, obviously it's horrendous, but I had a relatively good natural gas position as obviously Russia went into the war in Ukraine, so that was a pretty volatile upwards move. But that's what I tend to look for on a commodity perspective. If you zoom out, you can see it's very much a range game. So as we say in Bitcoin, it's the same with sort of everything you trade, but it's that sort of range. So if I was to draw this, if you drew, I don't know, like that as a range and got that, you encapsulate quite a key zone. So you can see that, boom, once it breaks that, you have an upwards, it'll come back and retest it. It'll come test this bottom of the range, up, holds. It tends to be that. And I tend to do that with stocks as well. I'll set more of a buying range rather than any potential entries. So I can sort of show how I do. I've got some terrible watch lists, but this is quite a good one actually, because this is one that I think people in the Discord did quite well. Is this the one that I have my drawings on? No. Where do I have my drawings on? Is it Wiz? No. I need to clean up my watch list, I think.
Yeah, no, me too. I've got things that I need to rename as, like, you know, bag holding shite and stuff like that. There's no interest to anybody else other than me thinking, oh God, why did I do that?
Yeah, we've all been there. I did have an iron one somewhere. Because I know if anyone was in the Discord, I know SMFC is quite happy about that. But iron, I must have deleted it. But iron, I had my zone marked out in this consolidation point here. So I looked, and back here you can see 2022 we had that. So if I wanted to encapsulate, so this was quite a big zone. So this covered this. So I can see, whilst obviously you've got a very big zone there, you can see there's a whole lot of price action that it's come into. So the top of this range was tested, bounced off, fell through, bottom of the range, fell out. It just respects it there. And then iron for me, the minute this came down and got into this range, this was when I started buying. Right. So I was buying this in March as we hit here. I think I've spoken about it a little bit with Dave, but the theory behind it. So from a non-price action point of view, is it was drawn to me by the crossover it had with AI. So I read really, really good research pack from a guy called Matthew Sigel, who does the crypto at Vanek. So he's head of crypto at Vanek.
Right.
Really, really respect him. He's one of the people in the space that whenever he sort of writes anything, I will read and I will listen. And he was saying about this sort of asymmetric AI opportunity for miners, in the fact that one of the big bottlenecks in AI is getting hold of all of the high-powered graphics cards that it runs on, which miners have a lot of because that's what they run their mines on. And a source of electricity, which the US is bad for it. The UK and Europe is even worse in the fact that it can take ages to get attached to a grid, especially sort of if you've got that source of energy. So there was a really big opportunity for some of these names to pivot towards that AI data provision, which there's a lot of companies that were coming and looking to buy these. So the big catalyst, I think, in sort of Hiram's move up is a stock that my favorite stock. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen because I bought the absolute living daylights of it down here.
What's this one?
CoreWeave.
Oh, CoreWeave.
So this is CoreWeave. So CoreWeave were an Ethereum miner who, when the Ethereum moved over to the new protocol, they switched to AI provision. And given they had all of these graphics cards, etc., they were trying to position themselves as an AI hyperscaler. Now, they were really unfortunate for them. I'd say very fortunate for me, very unfortunate for them, is their IPO was basically when Trump decided to declare a trade war on the entire world. So as you can see, it had an IPO, a nice pump up to $60 odd, and then we just saw this really, really aggressive sell-off and plateau. And it gave this tremendous opportunity here where if you believed that this stock had upside from where it IPO'd at, and the IPO was a very hyped IPO, but it came into a market that was very unhyped, which I always find a really good recipe, because there's less noise around it because there's so much noise around anything else. But they had this, and then if you were a believer in what they were trying to do and sort of the theory behind you, it gave you a really good opportunity to get this entrance around here. And as we can see, once it began to start flipping this area here, you move into, if I zoom out and put it on one side, you see the move a bit more aggressively, is you have this really aggressive upward move.
Nice.
I think it was a bit too aggressive at points. I mean, once you sort of get up to here, you could see that was when profits started to be taken. I was taking a lot of profits here, and I took some here. I didn't have a huge amount left when we got to here, I must admit. And then once I saw this here, where we sort of have these really high pressure candles, like very sort of high pressure on both sides, big candles, a strong daily candle there, but then it's just weak with this fair value gap. Okay. I was identifying areas that I might like to get involved with again, one of which being an area where I previously sold. And this, I was also chatting with our friend Mr. Dave yesterday, and he also has the same zone drawn out on his chart. So it may be one to mark up on your charts, but this area here is where I'd be waiting for it to come back to. So you have that distribution and sit there.
I am taking notes. When you say Dave, you mean Stonksy Dave, yeah?
Yeah, Stonksy Dave. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
How's he getting on with his move? Is he all right?
Yeah, I think so. He's enjoying his holiday. I mean, he chose probably the the wrong week to go on holiday, given the fact you've had all weeks of chop, and then you've just got the aggressive upward move when he's meant to be away from screens. But
I know I feel quite privileged, actually. You know, I actually did I did a little live stream myself on my own channel yesterday afternoon, and actually got an all-time high in the middle of the stream, and I was like so chuffed. I was thinking, like, that's brilliant. I've actually got an all-time high on a live stream. Not like I do many live streams. You know. Yeah, it's all happening this week, isn't it? Yeah. If you are watching Dave, I wonder if he is watching. I wonder if he's, like, you know, casually having a tune in and all that. He's probably not. He's probably thought he's.
I think he'll be watching them back. If I'll tell him I dropped some alpha and see what he says.
Yeah. Say you shouted him out as well. You know. That's really cool. This is really good stuff. Yeah, so I have screenshotted that, and I shall be looking at CoreWeave. So
MBI
all right,
is the same. This is a European alternative, and I think this one, same story. This is probably quite a good zone. So these do the same. These do a similar thing. So this is AI as a service. CoreWeave is GPU as a service, but it's a bit more aimed. CoreWeave is massive, and the interesting play is they've just bought a Bitcoin miner, which is why I think you're now seeing the Bitcoin miners trading at an even bigger premium than what they were before, because they're now a target for not only people like CoreWeave, but people potentially like your Metas or your OpenAI, or even sort of the Oracles of the world. Again, look, we see news here. For those that utilize the news, I find it quite useful just to sort of see what's going on and see if anyone has any ideas. I don't know if people use this area of TradingView much, but I find it quite useful to get sort of second opinions on stuff and see what other people are looking at.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see how other people trade, because it's almost like, I'd say, like trading and charting. It's almost like an art, in the fact that everybody, you could have the same chart and everybody looks at it different, and everyone looks at different points differently.
Right.
Well, I'd never look at it from this perspective, but they're essentially looking at the same thesis that I am, but in a different way.
I think there's a lot of that in trading. I don't know if you'd agree, but, like, you know, I mean, I base a lot of stuff I do on, you know, looking at support and resistance levels, and then I've got, you know, indicators, including Stonksy, of course, that I look at, and you know, I get an idea of things that way, and then I'll watch somebody who uses, like, only Elliott wave theory or whatever, and then I'll look at somebody else who uses something else, and everyone seems to come up with the same points, the same levels, you know. So I think there's lots of different ways to get into the same kind of thing, really. You know, it's just whatever
it's a different way of
whatever you're comfortable with, really, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. I find it really interesting, and you can also on that. You can also, like, grab the chart and save it into a place, so you can essentially have, like, a list of just different charts that different people have taken to almost sort of get a sense of what other people are looking at in this. So this guy's obviously used a different technique. He's got his levels fibbed out, and you can see the trade that he's taken there.
Yeah, awesome. Brilliant. Now, I noticed this morning, I just caught the end of it, but I think you were doing a trade on your show with Spud. What were you trading then?
So we traded Solana. Am I still alive in that trade? No, I have been stopped out of that one.
Okay. I was going to ask you. What you're thinking about Bitcoin right at the moment, actually. If
it's a very good question, and I will let's have a look.
I was kind of hoping for another all-time high while we're both on stream, but I don't think it's going to happen just yet. But you never know. Come 2:30, it could all go crazy.
Yeah. Let me have a look. Let me have a look at Bitcoin. I mean, because I've been out of the loop. I mean, I must admit, I had a couple of small leverage positions open on Bitcoin, but I've not, and Ethereum, but I've not actually had. I've had juicy enough positions to make the last few days fun, but I've not been all in. And I think we're at a really interesting point. I mean, listening to Justin's theory, I got me very bullish. I need to go down a time frame then if we're looking at sort of immediate.
I actually missed the show with Justin on the other day, actually. So he I don't know. Is he talking about crypto again?
yeah. Justin's a bit more bullish in crypto now,
Okay,
which is quite good. Yeah, I'm starting to come back into it now. It's moving a little bit nicer, but the thing is, I've found, and I think I discussed this with someone the other day on a stream, but I think we're seeing. It's hard to see more activity on chain with the institutions, and I think where the real bull run will be in assets that are institutionally friendly, and typically those will be traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Whether that be stocks like Coinbase, whether that be the miners, whether that be Circle or some of those types of names, or even the ETFs.
Yeah,
because some of these alts, I can't see where the institutional money is going to come if it's having to leave the system to buy it. Like I can't see them buying it on chain, and I can't see people who, if you've made a 50% gain or whatever on the IBIT, for example, on the ETF, and you're taking profits, and the idea that it rolls down the risk curve is you're not going to withdraw potentially tax-free money out of what is a pretty safe, regulated environment to go and buy something in a sort of wallet on your phone on chain.
Yeah. I was listening to something yesterday, and somebody mentioned that Plan B, you know Plan B, the Dutch guy who has the stock to flow ratio. Apparently he sold all his Bitcoin and he's only got ETFs now. And when he was asked, why did you do that? And he said, well, they're all insured. Which and he was saying it's the equivalent of having like money in the bank rather than being in a bag under your bed. And I was actually thinking, actually, that makes a little bit of sense, actually, And sorry, I was going to say, I know it's very sort of anti-crypto. I mean, I think we all consider ourselves like sort of anarchists, and we want to stick two fingers up at the bank and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it is a bit of a worry, isn't it? When you've got all your money on a hardware wallet that you might, I don't know, you might get a bang on the head and forget where you put your seed phrase, and it's all gone. So yeah. So I didn't used to see the advantage of ETFs, but I kind of do now, actually, I must admit.
Yeah, it's all put away. I mean, because obviously you can't buy them in the UK, and it's you have that. Without sort of going into too much about sort of where I keep stuff, is my big holdings are on I've got a cold wallet that I don't keep near me. I keep that in a safe deposit box.
Okay.
Sort of at jewelers where you can have the safe deposit boxes. That's where I leave one. So my main one is in a safe deposit box at an undisclosed jewelers. But that's the way that's sort of the security element of that. But in terms of keeping it inside that ISA element, I think that's a really interesting move. This I find a really interesting one, actually. I've just got this chart up for alt season, and why I still got that theory that where we're talking about the institutional grade assets, and you can see the real difference is this. So people might be quite used to seeing this chart. So this is the others chart. So this is total crypto market cap outside of the top 10. and we can see it's actually flipped quite a key level now. Is this area? I'd start getting more interested in like the more risky alts when we begin to flip this blue line here.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm put off is this chart. So this is others' dominance. So I know we talk quite a lot about the Bitcoin dominance and sort of ETH dominance, etc. I find this a really interesting one. So this is the dominance in the market cap of all the cryptos outside of the top 10. And you can see just how weak they've actually been. So we're back at levels that we've not seen since end of 2020, 2021,
Mm-hmm.
which shows you just how much like some of these alts have been absolutely murdered.
Right.
And even when we had our little sort of Trump alt season, it was so heavily dictated by the top 10 because we had that little pump there. But this is, and why I don't think we'll see a bull run like we have previously is I don't think we'll get to a point where we'll ever see cryptos outside of the top 10 making up 20% of the total market cap. I think that's a bit. I don't know. Do you think we'd get back to 20% outside of the top 10? I struggle to see how we would.
The problem is there are just so many alts now, aren't there? I mean, I don't know. I'm still not quite getting why people aren't super excited that Bitcoin is more or less at 120k, and the only reason I can think is that people are just bag holding shit coins from 2021. So yeah. I don't know really, to be honest.
Yeah, we're just in that sort of bit where we're held up. But I mean, it's a pretty damning chart, I think, this one. Does a high tide rise all boats? I think we've had a really good push up there on the weekly, but you're best off holding a top 10. And that's where I think it'll be a really interesting one, is when we start to see more of the institutional stuff come in, is we might see more index cryptos and the impact that would have. So where you have obviously like the FTSE 100 or the S&P 500, is you then potentially have that sort of weighted basket of cryptos. Obviously, it'll probably be predominantly Bitcoin in the same way that Nvidia takes up a monumental share of the S&P 500. But I think we probably might see one of those. Once the individual ETF approvals go through and you have approval for things like the XRP, the Solana, the Ethereum, but then the issue is inside of the top 10, there's still assets that you would deem industrial grade. I mean, I can't see Dogecoin ever fitting into a industrial grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have we had?
I was just thinking in the comments, actually. Can I use you while you're here?
More than welcome to.
That's brilliant. Yeah, because you have a vastly superior knowledge to me, and yeah, it's really great to have you here. So can everyone give the stream a like for Wiz being here? I think that's the least we can do.
Well, you're going to make me blush here.
Anyway, Stephen in the UK is asking about Say. I did actually buy some Say a while ago, and then as soon as it pumped a little bit, I sold it. And that's always my problem with altcoins, is I'm just rubbish at holding on to them, because I've been kind of burnt before, and I've kind of ended up bag holding. So now if I buy something because someone said it was a good idea, like Say, I think that was TMG's idea. I think he said it's probably a good thing to buy, so I bought it, and then it went up 20%, so I sold it, and that was the end of my Say.
That was quite a good decision.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just what I do, really. I think these days I'm not loyal to anything, and yeah.
That's what you got to be. Though you got to be a mercenary in this. I've spoken with Dave about the importance of it, but at the end of the day, a gain's a gain, as I said on the stream with Block Pro yesterday, stables give you options. Stables give you options to trade either way. If you have a token that's going down, you're then in a position where you have very little control of your exposure to it outside of just selling it. Whereas at least if you have stables, you can just trade it directionally and you can set areas you look for.
Yeah, because I actually had this discussion this morning with Mr. Delta, who I think's in the chat, and he's actually a friend of mine. But he was saying he's got a load of BGB, the BitGet token. Now I used to have quite a lot of that, and then when it went up to $8, I sold it, and it's down to $4 now. But that's up considerably from what it was in the past, you know. And he was saying, shall I sell it? And you know, obviously, I'm not giving financial advice, especially to my friends as well. But I didn't really know the answer, and because I was saying, well, if you sell it, what are you going to do? You're going to buy Bitcoin, but you're going to be buying Bitcoin at like all-time high, which doesn't really make sense. And he was saying, well, I could just sell it into USDT, and he said, but I don't like doing that. But at the same time, it does give you options, doesn't it? You know, I mean, it's a very green day yesterday. It's probably going to be a green day today, but sooner or later we're going to get hideous red.
My sound's cut out.
Oh, yours? Okay. Was mine okay? Let me have a little check.
Hello.
Can you? Right. Did you disappear or did I? Yeah, I can hear you.
I think my headphones may have died. I can hear you now. Sorry. Okay. What were you saying? Yeah.
I've forgotten.
I think actually, yeah, you were saying, weren't you, about what you change it into? I think it's a really interesting one. And I think one of the beauties of crypto is that it's, I won't say liquid in that sense, but it's liquid enough that you can change very quickly and very cheaply. And it's all about finding what will outperform. And if you can ride something up, and this is what I like to do from a stock perspective as well, is if you can ride something up 6 or 7% and rotate that into something else that then rides up 5 or 6%, and you just continually keep doing that, it's a great way to compound.
That is actually
BGP. Yeah,
that is actually exactly what I've been doing with my trading 212 account. Is, you know, literally I've been buying something. It's all within the stocks ISA. I've been buying something, and then when it goes up a few percent, I sell it, and then I just, you know, look for new opportunity. Then I buy something else that goes up a few percent and all that. And you know, I stuck in 20 grand in April, just before that was actually the allowance from last year. So that was 20 grand there, and I've got that up to 34 now, and that's like not using any sort of like leverage or anything like that. You know, that's just literally just buying and selling stocks, you know, and it's all within the ISA as well, so it's all tax free as well. At least I think it is. That is how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tax free. So it's you're capped at a 20k deposit, but you can move stuff freely around within that wrapper. You can't, anything you withdraw, you lose as part of the allowance. But yeah, you can put 20k in and trade inside it, which is why I think it's quite interesting that people can make use of derivative options within an ISA. So there are derivative options that exist inside an ISA wrapper. So you have leveraged shares, for instance. So if you were trading, I don't know, Tesla, I've got a friend who trades Tesla and who has his ISA, and he exclusively basically just trades Nvidia and Tesla 3x shares bi-directionally. So he will just, if he thinks that they're going to have a period of downturn, he'll buy the 3x short ones, and if he thinks they'll have a period of up, he buys the 3x long. And he does very well out of it. But
I can honestly see that. I mean, I've that's probably my best success story this year so far is Tesla, and it's literally my strategy is, you know, Trump and Elon fall out, buy a load of Tesla, Trump and Elon make up, sell a load of Tesla, and that's pretty much my strategy, you know. And you know, I don't know, could it get any simpler? You know, the only thing I've got now is now Elon's got his he's the American Party or whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
I can't see them kissing and making up just yet. You know, I think it's going to take a
no,
little while.
I think we're having a bit. I mean, I'm slightly annoyed at myself because when Tesla had the dump the other day, I bought some options. I bought some options for it. I bought the $315 options for next week expiry, and I bought in when the price was $292, and it hit 302 the other day, so I sold them, and I made a pretty good gain on them. I made I think 6% on one, 20% on another, and 10 on the other, of the three of them. And then I saw yesterday when it went to 310, I think it went to. I looked at the option premium for what I had, and I nearly cried safe because I would have had I think it was like 120% gain. And Tesla options, the premiums are pretty hefty on them. So I think each contract for the ones that I bought each contract was about $600. So
Right.
it was, I bought three of them, so it was an $1,800 position, which options are very, very high risk but very, very high reward. I think anyone who's in the Discord, I shared one the other day. There was a company that's where you can make like the lottery gains if you buy them. It was this one, and it was annoying because I had a different company in the same sector. So if we go on daily, is if you had options, if you'd bought options for this stock, if you'd have bought I think the $40 options for this stock on this day, you would have had 103,000% gain in a day on the option premium.
That's insane.
Which
absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I think the premium on it was, I think the premium on that one when it was the premium was I think 20 cents, and it went up to I think about 10 or $12,
Okay.
which it's nuts. Yeah, I've completely lost track of where I was there, but that's options trading is not for the faint-hearted. But yeah, back to Tesla. But yeah, so I've got a friend who trades bi-directionally within it, and you can do it on commodities as well. So you have oil and stuff in there. I think you can even get the charts for the leveraged ones on here. So if I type in 3x Tesla, yeah, so you can see here on the London Stock Exchange. So if you wanted to buy Tesla inside an ISA wrapper and you wanted to go long, you have this. So
all right,
this one's probably not the best chart to see, because you'll have just been eaten up by that. If we go on the hourly, because these are, so you can see here inside of an ISA wrapper, you're getting some very, very big moves, but there's a lot of gaps by doing it this way because the sessions don't overlap. So that's the only drawback to doing them inside is you only actually have an hour and a half, don't you, of where the UK and the American sessions overlap. Half two till, yeah, it's 2:30 till 4 because UK market shut at 4. So you get a lot of gaps, but if you're trading bi-directionally, I mean, you could literally buy this on a Friday if you were doing a sell option. You shorted it, and you could get a 30% gain by the time it opened again on the following week. So I know people who do that, and they do that quite well. There are fees attached to these if you trade that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, XRP is doing. I hate this thing. I hate this thing with a passion.
Why do you hate it? I think everyone's got their own reason.
It is just the most. I don't get it. I don't get why people buy it. I don't get why it exists. It exists purely. It was just manufactured out of nothing. Brad controls most of the supply, and ultimately, I think Brad will dump on people. But it's where it had all the pressure, and I think from an alt season perspective, if I go onto this, I would love an alt season to start when a proper alt season start. When this XRP dominance falls to probably this region here, because that will open up so much liquidity to go into other areas, and this will drop, and I'd rather it drops to people who are going to buy stuff inside, who are going to buy other stuff, rather than Brad just selling on everyone to re-entrench his billionaire status.
All right, so you reckon he's got most of it, is it?
Yeah.
Or like the majority.
He has a very. All of the founders have a very, very, very significant holding of it because they created it. It created out of thin air. It created out of thin air. It's not mined per se. It was just invented.
Oh, okay. So you just say, "Here's a coin."
Yeah,
there it is.
It was invented and then distributed. I mean, that's pretty horrible. That XRP once made up 30% of the total crypto market cap.
Well, it's still like was it number 3 or number 4?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But it shows just how big Bitcoin is and the fact that that's 4. I think there's some crypto stuff. I'll quickly go through if people are interested. Some of the stocks that I've got on my watch list.
Yeah, sure.
So what have we got? So this is one I think I mentioned to you before, wasn't it? This trade desk.
Yeah, you did. I think what I did with that, I just did my usual thing. I bought it one day, it went up a few percent, I sold it. So I don't have any at the moment, but yeah, I'm all ears though.
Yeah, because I was quite. I saw this, and I had some entries set here, which in sort of the Block Pro style stop loss element, I didn't hold them all the way down to here, and I waited until we sort of got a little bit of strength here, started scaling in on this candle, and I started buying some more here. I think this is one to keep an eye on because it seems to be if it can flip this level, you've got a massive fair value gap there that I think it could eat up. What have we got? Tesla's getting beaten up in. No, it's not. It's actually holding. All right. What else have we got? Oh, one of my. So this is one that I was chatting to Dave about that I really like. Is I look at a concept that I quite like and to look at is what I call capital rotation. So capital moves to wherever you have the most upside, as we said inside a NISA. But in a sort of global economic perspective, you get a lot of moves both in sector and across sector. So if you have areas that begin to outperform, once they hit levels where profit taking begins, it's always quite interesting to see where that capital might go. And I think semiconductors, on the back of where NVIDIA went, so I've got NVIDIA on here somewhere, but everyone knows NVIDIA is basically like that. I had a theory that we'll begin to see AMD outperform NVIDIA, and you'll see a lot more capital begin to rotate in. Now that seems to have started here, and I think you're seeing some strength here. There were some really bullish price targets on this. So HSBC have put a $200 target on this, which a $200 target from them would represent about 40% upside. So that's one to keep an eye on. I think this
is AMD, yeah.
Yeah, this is AMD. So they're a semiconductor manufacturer alongside NVIDIA.
So I'm looking at it on the StreamYard screen, so it's a little bit fuzzy, so I can't quite see it.
Yeah, this screen's a bit up. This one's a nuts one. SMCI.
Oh,
again,
I've got some of that.
Yeah, again, I'm looking at stuff on for stuff like this where I'm investing like thematic in swing positions. I tend to look on stuff on a really high time frame. So this is it on a weekly perspective, and we can see consolidation, boom, upwards expansion, some distribution, and it fell. This was a bit of a gift because it just fell back into this perfect range here.
Right.
So you'll have had an opportunity to buy even lower here, but it came back, and the big thing would be, would it hold here, or would you then have to look at going into this area down here? Now, I'm pretty sure everyone would have bought the hell out of this at $8, and you'd be very profitable if it went to 8. Those are the type of things I look at. What else have I got on the list that I think? I shared my Oclo position the other day, so I think this is one where, again, like CoreWeave, we've had this upward expansion, we've got distribution, and it's come back, and I found this level quite interesting. We seem to have held it for now, but I mean, anyone looking at that trade, you're pretty much just above my entry anyway. So
what's Oclo?
So Oclo, they do nuclear power plants for AI data centers. So it's not been announced, but the sort of Chinese whisper in the room is that these guys will eventually land a mega deal with OpenAI to power their data centers, because ultimately whilst you've got these tech companies that need stupid amounts of power to run these data centers, like absolutely, it's unholy amounts of power to run these things, like more power than the world's seen previously.
Right.
But because of the carbon commitments, they want renewables, which is where nuclear has had a real renaissance.
Yeah.
So this one, I think, is a really interesting name to keep an eye on. And that's the same with iron. So obviously, from a mining perspective, is iron have all this power, but it's all renewable. So they're one of the only fully renewable Bitcoin miners.
How do they do it? Iron.
So they've got solar. I think so. Theirs is mostly solar. Mostly solar with a few bits of hydro in there.
Okay.
What else have I got on that I quite like? AST Space Mobile. These do satellite internet, which I find really interesting. I can't talk too much about this one, I don't think, because I work for a telecoms company, so I don't really talk too much about telecoms, but it seems to have respected every level I've set so far. So maybe an interesting buy.
I can't actually see the ticker there. What is it?
So it's AST Space Mobile. So they do satellite internet. BBAI. I mean, I think Dave's quite happy about this one because I was telling Dave to buy it around here. So Dave came out a little bit too early, I think, but could have had a nice 3x on that one. Right. This one, so I'll go on. This one was one. Congrats to anyone in the Discord who caught this, because this one was one that really caught my eye. Is I saw this roll over here on this fair value gap when it began to find support here. This is so I saw this from. It was a piece of news I saw on TradingView, but it was this. It's an insider buy, so it's. I need to get off that. That's annoying me. So a billionaire Trump supporter is buying these two stocks, which anyone who follows any insider buys, whether that be politicians or people close to politicians, usually has an element of asymmetric information. So this one is a military metals company, PPTA, which that ticker I showed earlier, the MP one that did 50% in a day, is in the same area, which was a bit annoying, as I didn't have exposure to that one. But after that pumped, I ended up buying some more of this after that pump because of that capital rotation question, because the profits will be taken out of that one. And if people are still bullish on the sector, they'll look at different plays within the sector that have more upside.
Right.
Now, this one you'll have done pretty well on. I think I was not advising, I can't give advice, but I pointed it out in the Discord around this level here and then added here. So yeah, you'll have had an 11% day yesterday. I mean, if you believe on trading in closing fair value gaps, you've got another 11% upside, which on a CFD position on a 5x, you 50%, 55%. This one's running quite hard now, Black Sky, but this is, been murdered recently. But this is a really low cap one. So these guys do these guys are like a smaller Palantir. So if you're bullish on what Palantir do, and I think Palantir will become one of the biggest and most important companies on the planet. If these guys can start to emulate, then there might be a lot of upside. 740 million market cap. So when you're sort of getting into, if you get into crypto because you like the sort of mega moves intraday, these types of stocks where you have stuff in sectors that are interesting but they have a small market cap is when I wouldn't necessarily trade it on leverage, but you can get really good positions by swing trading this.
Okay.
So like if you'd have gone long on this in June here, I mean, you'd have more than outperformed Bitcoin on this one,
Right.
if you'd got in at this level here. Coinbase, if we're staying at the Coinbase, is just relentless, isn't it? Like that is gunning for an all-time high.
I know. I kind of feel I ought to get some Coinbase, but I've left it way too late. And
I don't buy them out of principle. I don't like Coinbase.
fair enough.
And I don't like Binance. I'm banned from both for reasons I won't go into. But Coinbase have 5 of my Ethereum that I can't get back.
Really?
Third back. Yeah. So back when people thought that you were going to ETH2, Coinbase had a thing where you could stake your ETH. And you could stake your ETH, and it was I think it was like a 10% annualized return. And in exchange, it would give you sort of the newer move to ETH. I was quite sort of naive about crypto at that point, and I staked my ETH. Wasn't that much at the time. It was a few years ago now. It was probably six years ago. And then obviously they closed my account and I can't unstake it, and because the ETH2 doesn't exist, I can't send it to a wallet, and I've tried to jump through many hoops and they won't give it to me. So I'd have preferred the Ethereum, I must say, but you take it on the chin, don't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we've all made well, I have anyway. We've all made mistakes, and yeah, I don't know. What can you do?
This is an interesting one. I've spoken about this one before. So this one is it's a consumer financial services app they've got their own stablecoin and are partnering with Circle. They don't seem to have ran with the rest of the market. Instead, they seem to have just had sustained sell-offs. I don't know why that is, but from a backtest point of view, if you were looking at levels to backtest, it's come back and it's backtested this and bounced off quite solidly. Now, this seems potentially like an area where you've probably got more upside than down. I think if you were to have a position here and you'd say, this below this candle here, I'd invalidate. you obviously sort of giving yourself quite a lot of room, but you're giving yourself quite a lot of upside if it did decide to run.
Okay.
What else have I got? Have I got any really, really weird tickers? Tended not to have any really weird tickers at the minute. I think those are the weirdest ones. I've got this one actually. This one's quite funny. So this is a Chinese robo-taxi company. So this basically looks like a meme coin. But this is like the Chinese. This is like a Chinese robo-taxi company, which, as you can see, it's been absolutely murdered. But it's bounced off quite well from this bottom area here. So I was looking at and accumulating some here. These are the types of lotto plays. I think, like, if you've got an ISA and you're wanting to have something that you're wanting to add, like 0.5% of your portfolio risk. This is something that I think is a really interesting one. Is Wiz out of Nvidia now? Yeah, I swung back in Nvidia and started taking profits in here, and it never came back into the box. For me, I think I don't see where I see more upside elsewhere. It comes back to that capital rotation question. Is like I've got there are things that I think will outperform Nvidia. I think Nvidia may still keep going up, but there are things that will outperform it, and it's the same with crypto. You'll ride your Bitcoin up, and you might say now, whilst Bitcoin's safe and safer than most, at 118k, I don't think there's enough upside to warrant the risk of buying spot.
Right.
If that makes sense. Because if you're now looking at a point where if it gets to 100, even if it gets to say like, I don't know, like 130,000, you're not actually looking at that much upside on spot.
Yeah.
Whereas you're looking at a lot more risk to the downside on a spot.
I must admit, I've normally been like a fan of trading inverse perpetual, so like coin M stuff. So I've got like Bitcoin as my collateral, and at the moment, because I've been using things like BLOFIN, where up until a couple of weeks ago, your only option was like USDT pairs.
Yeah.
And now it's got to the level it's at now. We're at pretty much 120k. I'm actually quite happy that I've got mainly USDT, because I know in the past, whenever it was, October 2021, I didn't want to sell any Bitcoin because I had Bitcoin, and I'm actually thinking now, if I've just got a pile of USDT, I'll quite merrily spend it on something like a holiday, or or I'll pay my gas bill, whatever. I'll do that because it's USDT, and if it was Bitcoin, I wouldn't want to sell it, even when I see it falling down in price, because I don't know. I'm not sure how much more upside it's got in this bull run, but I don't know. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I think beyond 120 sounds a bit weird. Sounds too expensive. It is actually about 1 minute from New York Open, actually, and
so ding 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 ding.
Not quite yet.
I've gone a bit early, but yeah, the inverse perpetuals are interesting because I used them as well. I used them mainly on an exchange that obviously this stream isn't partnered with, so I won't say the name. But yeah, I use it for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Where I think they're really good is sort of coming back to. I'll put the S&P on actually.
Oh yeah.
Where's it and?
Right. By the way, I'm not in control of the Stonksy Indicator YouTube channel, so I'm not able to do a poll actually. But if you want to quickly stick in the comments if you think up or down, I'm not sure actually. I think it's come down a bit, hasn't it? While we've been talking, so I don't know. I can see a little bit of up myself. What do you think?
I think so. I think that's S&P we'll put on Bitcoin. I think
Oh, there you go. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and we are dumping quite heavily.
Okay.
Yes, we are dumping quite heavily. Yeah, going back to the inverse perpetuals, where I think they're really interesting, and something going back to your point on that I like to do is you can use them as a hedge, because obviously you can shorten them. So you can almost sort of hedge a position. You can use some Bitcoin to short your position, and obviously that will give you more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you can actually sort of make Bitcoin with Bitcoin going down.
Yeah.
And accumulate. So rather than sort of having to keep going in and out of USDT, is you can just basically just buy directional trade the Bitcoin itself. Ultimately, if the aim of the game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, that's the aim. And going back to Block Pro's levels testing, although it's just dropped below, is you'd have looked at a back test there. You can see a lot of volume there, even on the 1 minute. On the 1 minute there, so you might have potentially, if you're looking at this on the 1 minute, this was probably an area to expect a reaction. Okay. And long and behold, we're actually getting a reaction on that point. How big the action is, I don't know, but
is it really as simple as that? Just look left, look to see what happens.
Find some volume, but it's not always guaranteed that you'll have a reaction there. But more often than not, you have some sort of reaction. And then, so like if you had a position and you had your entry tag there for this, for instance, it might have triggered the entry, and you might look at that and think, hang on a second, whilst it's rebounded, that's quite a weak candle, and closed it. But yeah, I mean, this, I think we're gonna have a bit. I thought we may have a bit of blood, because you'll have had a lot of institutions who only trade in these hours who will have looked and thought this is a very good chance to take some profits.
Right.
Because if you were say like a BlackRock or someone like that, and you'd left work yesterday with Bitcoin at, what was it, at 110, and you came back and it was 107, it's a good opportunity to take some risk off the table.
Absolutely.
I think we'll see a bounce later in the session. Personally, I think we'll see some profit taking here. Not that I have any positions open, but that's what I'd probably be looking at.
I did have a little FOMO long from this morning, actually, but that's hit my stop loss now. That's all right though. I'm $117 up, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's not, everything's been, it's a red day all around, to be honest, though. I think if we look here.
Okay. I was just wondering why short video, you said a little while ago you're scared. Why are you scared? Yeah, I'm interested to know. As is my mate, do you want to have a quick look at BGB? And
yes, I had that up and then we got distracted. Let's see
if you can advise, not advise.
BGB. I can't advise, but I can say what I would do.
One thing. Sorry.
Oh, that's
one thing I had noticed about BGB is generally when Bitcoin's dumping, BGB normally goes up a little bit. I mean, it's not massively inversely correlated, but it does seem to do that, which I've noticed before. Because what I used to do, well, I still do it a bit, is I trade it on BitGet using BGB as the actual margin, and it's quite cool because if the price of Bitcoin comes down, you usually find that your actual margin increases in value because it's BGB, and it makes the trade a lot safer. so I do that, but I must admit I've really gone off BitGet. I don't really like it so much. There's certain things that they could have improved that they just haven't. So I am going off it a bit. Anyway.
So if you look at it from a high time frame, it seems to have found a level of support. So I mean, you've obviously got this run up here. Here, if you were holding it, in hindsight, is probably a good place to sell. I think here is a really interesting one. I think if you've got it here, I would potentially be targeting a retest of this May candle. So you'd look there, and $5, depending on where your entry and depending on where your entry was, etc. Is like if we hit that back test there, you've got a 20% upside on that one. Where I think for BTB it potentially gets scary is you can see we've wicked and taken liquidity from there, but there's not a whole lot below it. Like this area here, this is quite a big void. This seems to be a natural level, so it's one where I'd be looking to take a position if I had it. I think so if I was looking at where I'd look at taking profits, because I think if you hold it, this is probably where you'd be looking at. So I'd potentially be looking at starting to de-risk here. That's not picked up. What am I looking for? I'm looking for horizontal ray. So this area here from a backtest perspective. So I'd be looking, probably take some risk off the table there. So I think once you climb above this area here, you've got this fair value gap, which will likely get filled in. After that, you've got a big liquidity wick there, but you'd say this is probably an area where price has had a significant change, given sort of you've had the consolidation and then a drop off. So you'd maybe then look at taking risk off the table there.
Okay.
Go out. This area here is interesting because we can see just a really firm rejection of this point before moving down. So I would, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I will have a look at where the volume sits. So actually, you could then maybe look at moving that potentially onto there. So you'd maybe look at having that there. And then this is where it gets a little bit tricky because there's not a huge amount of volume up here. So this is where I think once we get past this level here, is probably the last bit of volume. Then after that, it's anyone's game. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot stopping it once you get above there. But then on the same angle, there doesn't look to be a whole lot of buy pressure above there either. So that is how I'd look at it. And you'd maybe, if you wanted an additional TP area to sort of split some of the risk, you'd maybe look at taking out that liquidity wick there. So from a profit-taking perspective, I would probably be looking at those 4 zones to begin scaling out. And then once we hit here, you can then maybe leave a 10% bag to fly. But if you've got a 10% left and you've got at this point, you pretty much double your money anyway from if you were entering around here.
Yeah, that's pretty sound. I'm tempted to say the word advice. That's a pretty sound strategy there. So I hope you're listening, Mr. Delta, and you're taking notes. Yeah, so basically don't sell it all today.
Yeah, but we can see that there's not a huge amount of volume, to be honest, here. So whilst it's come back and it's bounced off this, I think once if we got into this box here is when it gets that little bit scary.
Yeah.
I'd say that's unless the exchange tokens are always a bit of a weird one though, because the exchanges will probably like to try and prop them up, so it's a lot less of a free float. You'd be a little bit concerned if it broke below $4. So I'd be potentially looking at a stop, maybe to be generous, sort of around this bottom liquidity area here. So this 381, if it broke that, I'd probably be looking for entries further down around sort of $2.50 to $3.
Yeah.
But price range. But so you've got, actually I'll use the measure tool. So but with those zones mapped out there, so if it hits your TP1, 14%, not to be sniffed at. TP2, 28.6%, 44% up at here at $6. And if you hit this area here, you're on a 60% gain, which I think is not too bad. That's how I'd look at it anyway, from a perspective.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I can leave those lines there for future reference. But yeah, that's if you're wanting to screenshot. Actually, I'll download that and I'll send that to. I'll put that in your Telegram group for Mr. Delta.
Oh, that'd be very kind. That'd be very kind indeed.
So
awesome. That's cool. Well, yeah, Bitcoin actually sort of bounced quite nicely. Actually, it's sort of actually maybe not. No, it's still. It's all right, I think, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, it's at $117,500. It's like that is just insane, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, and it's at that point as well as when it's in price discovery. It's like, how do you trade this? Like how there's just no data to go off. Like
I know
no volume. No.
I've found it difficult to trade once it went over 100K. Actually, I thought, I was keep thinking I was much happier when it was down like, sort of 90 odd, and I mean, for a start, the actual numbers you have to remember are easier, aren't they? You got like 96,000, that's all right. But when you got like 113,480, the numbers are too big.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I really don't get. I don't get where this adder pump is coming from. Like that is just.
Oh, isn't this all to do with like, I don't know, some sort of Trump said something about something, and I mean, like the other day, like CRO had a pump because
here we are. Yeah.
Was it so?
So Cardano has allocated $15 million to adoption, partnering with NASA, Barcelona, and the UNDP. ETF approval odds now at 89% per Polymarket. And the foundation is spending $22.1 million. I just don't get it. I don't get who is actually using this, in all honesty. Yeah.
No. I mean,
don't get it.
Yeah. I have to say, Wiz, I'm not going to reveal the actual numbers, but I think you've made Mr. Delta very happy. For a start, you've done the BGB bit, but he also sent me a screenshot of his, I think it's his trading 212 thing, where he's bought a load of things on your kind of like, well, because you've been talking about them, and it's really impressive. You got like AMD 3.3% up, Iron 106% up, Big Bear AI 61% up, Archer Aviation 7.1, Recursion Pharmaceuticals, is that the RXRX, is it?
Yeah, RXRX,
yeah, he's up 26% on that, 3% on Nvidia, and 4% on Amazon. Lucky bastard. so he's very grateful. He said thanks, Wiz, and that's bloody awesome. Yeah,
there were some good plays, weren't they?
Yeah, I must admit, I missed a chunk of those. I think I tend to. I don't want like 12 things to think about at once, so I'm usually like, I've usually got like 3 or 4 maximum on the go at any time, but yeah, I think he's done well. He's more patient than me, though. He just kind of buys them and then sort of like sits on them for a few months. So
yeah,
maybe I should take a leaf out of his book. Really,
I think to be honest, you can use it a little bit more like you would a trade for spot. So where you sort of will mark out your levels for Bitcoin, for instance, is you can almost do that with spot, and then if you sort of have that patience, that if say like Tesla hits your stop loss, it's invalidated, and you'll look for an entry low down. I tend to do that with my ISA stuff, just so I'm not worried about it. I either lose what I'm prepared to lose in a stop loss, or I take the profit when it hits it, and it sort of takes that. So my trading 212 is quite interesting because I don't actually look at it that often. If I go on it, it's to buy something that I'll buy having marked it out on a trading view chart.
Right.
I don't tend to look at it, which is why I had this bit of a shock when I opened it the other day. Because I never really look at the homepage. I just instinctively just go on, buy what I need to do, and not look at it from there because I get all my alerts on TradingView. And I had my 3-month return was 120% inside of an ISA, which is
You see, I was talking to someone about this the other day. Actually, it was when I went to this like SEO conference up in Manchester, and on the first night we were on this like river cruise thing up in Manchester, and I was talking to this guy, and I was talking about trading stuff within an ISA, and he didn't believe me. He said like, "There's no way you can put 20 grand in an ISA in 1 year and trade it up to like." He said, what could you do? And I said, well, I don't know, feasibly you could trade it up to like 100 grand or something. He said, like, and you can do that tax free. And I said, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, you're not sure, are you? And I said, well, I'm like 95% sure that's how it works. And he said, but you're not sure, are you? It's a grey area. And I don't think it is it? I think that's exactly how it works, So so the kind of thing you're doing there, you've like doubled your money in a month, pretty much.
Yeah, it's been a bit nuts. I mean, some of them were a little bit high risk. So I used when we had the market crash, I used some of like the leverage 3x stuff, which goes up and down. But you can do it from indices. Like you could, if you believe in the theory of like 1% a day, you could basically buy the S&P index one day when it goes up 2%, sell it and wait for new entries. There is actually I might get Perplexity up and have a look, but there's an arbitrage where and a strategy that some people use where if you buy stuff overnight, you buy stuff just as the market closes and sell it on open, you can outperform the market actually being open, which has led to a really interesting phenomenon where you now have more companies, particularly in the US, that will report their earnings, that choose to report their earnings after the session rather than before.
Right.
So you don't tend to have many companies now that report their earnings pre-session. Most will just naturally go post-session because then you get the full trading day, and there's always quite a hive of activity in post-trading.
Okay.
So you can get quite big moves because obviously whilst the market's officially closed, you have a post-market that's open a bit longer.
Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure how that works actually. So I mean, some things you can trade out of hours, but you can't do them at weekends. And how does that work?
So it culminates orders. So it essentially collates up. It collates up orders that it basically opens the book, but it's not done. It's not open as in you have for the New York Stock Exchange where it's completely open and inside there, but the brokers themselves will run a book similar to how a crypto exchange would.
Okay.
So they'll be able to mark where the buy orders and where the sell orders are and what the demand is, and they'll be able to model the price there. And because they're able to model the price, they can offer trading on it.
Right.
They don't do it for stuff like options. So options you don't tend to trade out of hours naturally, but you can for some stocks, and now you can trade them on chain. They stay open. Although I will say to anyone buying the stocks that you can get on the Solana stocks, the X stocks that are going round, is the X stocks that are going around is there's a premium attached to them.
Okay.
1 a.m. Monday morning you can trade from. Yeah, so futures open. So you tend to get futures open for the US markets at 11 p.m. on a Sunday UK time. But yeah, 1 a.m. Monday.
Awesome. I'll tell you what we've not done. We've not actually shown Stonksy at all, have we?
No. That's
a bit of an oversight.
I'll hand the screen back to you.
Bit of an oversight, isn't it? Yeah, I'll probably get told off for that. Hang on, let me just right.
I will nip to the toilet. And
okay.
I probably need another coffee, given I am running on fumes, having been up all night in front of a computer screen.
Have you? Oh God. Okay. Right. For everyone who was wondering, if you, I think everyone actually here is probably knows what the stream's all about. It's all about this indicator here called Stonksy. And Stonksy has two parts to it. It has this bit up here where it has this green and red background, and it has this channel as well. These labels here, I've got these set to show on the 1 hour when it goes green, when it goes red, and when it goes to no trade. And I've got it set like that because if I look at it on a different time frame, for example, like the 12-minute, even though the 12-minute is there, it still shows me what they are on the 1 hour. The 1 hour is like a really amazing thing. And you see, like, if you'd used Stonksy, like I did on one of my trades that's still open, you'd have gone long around about here on Tuesday at 107,900, something like that, and we're now like $10,000 higher than that. So that is an incredible, thing about, well, it's just so easy, isn't it? It's just like goes green, you go long, and then you go up however many percent that is. So that would have been like 8%. 10x leverage is something I use. That would have been 80%. At the moment, I'm sort of using a bit higher leverage. I'm using like 25%, 25x leverage. So that would have been more like a 20% gain. 8 times 20 is whatever that is. 81. Yeah. So getting on for like a 200% gain is the sort of thing you could have made on that. And then down here, you've got this momentum oscillator. So at the moment, this is interesting because what you're seeing here is this momentum line here is kind of banging on the upside, and that's basically because people are buying Bitcoin, people are longing Bitcoin, and the line there kind of implies that they might be starting to run out of steam. And where you see these like red intense histogram lines here, that's where you get a bit of a pullback. But if you look at the moment, those histogram lines are fading quite a lot. So I actually think, and I agree with Wiz, that I think we've got more upside this afternoon. So that's what I'm looking at there. If you want to get Stonksy, I should have a link somewhere. All the links are in the description down below. But if you want to use Stonksy, you can use this link here. Let me just post that in the comments. Okay, so if you use that link, you use the code BOT20, BOT20, you get 20% off your first month. If you decide to go for the annual plan, which I must admit is to me a no-brainer because it saves you loads of money. If you go for the annual plan, then you can use my code, which I will just put in here. I'm pretty sure this still works. It's SWC10, and that gets you 10% off the annual plan for Stonksy. The exchange that we're recommending to use, are we allowed to recommend? I suppose we are, aren't we? The exchange that we're using, right, is BLOFIN. And the particular thing about BLOFIN, right, is if you use this link, it does a few magic things. One thing is it will give you access to the Stonksy bot if you're a Stonksy user. The Stonksy bot will trade for you using a strategy that is to do with signals from the Stonksy indicator. And also, I believe that link there, that gets you the same fees as if you're VIP1. Now, a little thing I heard about this. Now, I'm pretty sure this is true, but don't hold me to it. But I believe what BLOFIN did was they made it so the first month is the same fees as VIP1, which is significantly less than VIP0, like no VIP. And they don't know how to turn it off after the first month. So you should, in theory, get VIP1 fees forever, or at least until they work out how to turn it off. That is an exchange I use a lot. I'm using it right now, and it's all going well. Okay, what other things have I got to show you? If you want to trade, if you can use Bybit, Bybit is a really, really good exchange. I do use that a lot. You're not supposed to use it if you're in the UK, though. Let me just plop that in there. Okay. You're not supposed to use it in the UK. I use it with a Palo ID. Now, I believe they don't accept Palo IDs anymore. So you can use that if you're in, well, certainly Asian countries, quite a bit of Europe. It's not every European country, though. I think Netherlands and Spain have a problem. But there is now a bybit.eu. So you might get redirected to there if you join that, where some of the features of it are kind of toned down slightly. Like you've got they've capped the amount of leverage you can use. It's still reasonable, but anyway, but that's what they've done there. So Bybit is cool. If you want to find out more about me, I don't know why you would want to, but no, to be honest, I do good stuff on YouTube. I'm just filling in for Dave at the moment because Dave's off on vacation, holiday, whatever you want to call it. But if you want to get hold of me, that is my YouTube channel there. And yeah, we're all good. Are you still there, Wiz? Oh, he's muted himself. Or maybe he's gone. But anyway, so today we had the Wizard of Alt on, and he's not just the Wizard of Alt, he's the Wizard of Stocks as well. And I think you must be amazed at his knowledge. I think he's a very, very knowledgeable and clever young man, and it's been an absolute delight to have him on the show. And has he disappeared? I was going to say thank you. I don't want to unmute him. Maybe I should. I know he's muted himself. It says can't unmute your guest because they chose to mute themselves. Okay. Well, if you are there, Wiz, and you're listening, then thank you very much for coming on the show. He does have his own YouTube channel as well. I think it's called Wizard of Alt. If you go and find that, you will see the video, the live stream he did this morning with Spud, Web3 Spud, who's the boss of Crypto Saving Expert. He did a great show this morning. Oh no, you come back. Oh yeah, I was sort of signing off, and I was going to.
Oh, okay. I went outside and completely forgot it was sunny, so I ended up. Yeah.
All right. I think but you went outside and completely forgot what you were doing.
Yeah, I went outside and I thought this is peaceful, and then I opened my options account and it's not a good day. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
There was some stuff that I forgot I had open that isn't looking pretty, but yeah, I'm caffeinated up.
Oh, good. I was trying to find you on Twitter, on X.
My screen's gone really weird. It should be Wizard of Alt, Wizard _ of Alt.
Wizard _
yeah.
Okay.
If you can.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, I'm really annoyed. I got stopped out of that Solana long on stream because that.
Oh, did you?
Kissed 167.
No.
Okay. It's not my day. I've made enough money the last couple of weeks, so I can't complain.
Oh, well done. Yeah.
Orange
Anyway,
juice has paid for breakfast.
nice.
Yeah. Are we signing off? Is there anything else anyone wants charting, or is are we signing off? I think
Let's
my
have a
computer's
quick
about
look.
to die anyway.
I think we're done pretty much.
Fantastic.
But thank you so much for coming on the stream today. I must admit that 2 hours just flew by. It was entertaining, and it was great, and it was lots of alpha there. And I think everyone should give the live stream a massive, great fat like for Wiz coming along and doing that today. And yeah, look forward to having you on the stream again. That was really good fun. That was brilliant. And thank you very much.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
All right.
A lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
No, it's absolute pleasure. All right. Right, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. So thank you very much for coming. Do click like on your way out. Do check out Stonksy. The links are in the chat there. The links are also in the description down below. And I'm actually going to be back tomorrow. I know Dave doesn't normally do a stream on Saturday, but I think with the week we've had, I think it's worth doing like a quick hour. So I'm going to stick to the same time. I'm going to do 1 p.m. tomorrow. I'll probably do like an hour or something. So I'll see you all then. All right. So take care. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him. Okay. He's gone. All right. Take care, everyone, and see you tomorrow. Bye.